the T.I. situation. If he did that, I don't spare no.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you the so-called King of the South might have been running his own kingdom with an iron fist right inside his own household? Yeah, we're not talking about rap beef, not about who snitched and who didn't this time. The streets are whispering about something darker, something uglier. And guess who's right in the middle of it? None other than T.I. and his son, King Harris. Now here's the kicker. Boosie bad as yes. The same Boosie who never met a headline he couldn't make louder just went on record claiming he's seen exclusive video evidence of T.I. allegedly laying hands on his own son. Let that sink in. Not rumors. Not gossip. He said video. So the question is, what's really on that footage? Is this another publicity stunt to stay relevant? Or did Boosie just crack open the ugliest family scandal hip-hop has seen in years? Stick around, because this story isn't about clout, it's about control. It's not about music, it's about manipulation. And once we lay out the receipts, the dots, the whispers, and the so-called exclusive footage, you'll never look at T.I. or King Harris the same again. So let's lay this out clear. Because the scandal is already spiraling faster than a TMZ headline on steroids. The names involved? T.I. Mr. Rubberband Man, the self-proclaimed King of the South. And right next to him, his son, King Harris, who's been making more headlines for bar fights and courtroom cameos than for any music. Now, add Boosie Badass to the mix, the man who has turned Instagram Lives into his personal CNN, and what do you get? A perfect storm of controversy, conspiracy, and chaos. Here's the setup. Boosie claims there's an exclusive video. Not screenshots, not voice notes, not some vague, "I heard from my cousin's barber's uncle." No, he says there's an actual video of T.I. allegedly crossing the line with his own son. And suddenly, the entire internet's collective jaw just hit the floor. But let's rewind. Because this isn't coming out of nowhere, T.I.'s been skating on thin ice for years. Remember the infamous him and doctor controversy when he bragged about checking up on his daughter in ways that made even daytime talk show hosts gasp? Yeah, that moment exposed a darker, controlling side of T.I. that fans couldn't unsee. Add to that his well-documented beef with Boosie over the whole snitch allegations. And suddenly, Boosie's word doesn't sound like some random troll's rant. And King Harris? This kid has been broadcasting his rebellion like it's a mixtape drop. We're talking viral clips of him screaming at cops, threatening restaurant workers, and flexing in front of cameras like he's invincible. But behind the scenes, the whispers say he's not just rebelling, he's reacting. Reacting to years of pressure, expectations, and if Boosie's claims are true, even abuse. The public perception of T.I. as the slick businessman, the loving father, the hip-hop mogul, that's been cracking for years. The cracks turned into fractures when he and Boosie fell out over that whole snitch paperwork fiasco, remember? Boosie basically went on a media tour, telling anyone who would listen that T.I. had folded under pressure, that his credibility was shot. At that time, people thought Boosie was exaggerating. But now, with this alleged footage, people are replaying those interviews like they were prophecy. And here's the thing. Boosie didn't just drop this bomb quietly. Oh no, he made sure to sprinkle in the kind of details that make people lean closer to their screens. Words like, "I seen it with my own eyes," "they don't want you to know," and "the truth gonna hurt." That's the exact recipe to turn gossip into gospel. The streets are buzzing. The blogs are typing and hip-hop forums are melting down. The big question is, what's on that tape? Because if even a fraction of what Boosie is claiming is true, T.I.'s carefully curated legacy could crumble overnight. And that's exactly where things start to get messy. Because this isn't just about a family fight. This is about reputation, power, and a culture that eats its kings alive. And that's exactly where the so-called exclusive footage becomes the gasoline on this already raging fire. According to Boosie, the video isn't just some grainy clip or distorted recording. It's crystal clear, HD, the kind of clarity that leaves no wiggle room. No, maybe that's not what it looks like. Allegedly, it shows T.I. and King Harris in what Boosie described as a heated altercation. But the whispers say it goes way beyond yelling. Now, here's where it gets even wilder. Anonymous sources online claim they've seen screenshots being passed around in group chats. Of course, nobody's dropping them publicly, because if they did, that'd be the end of T.I.'s entire empire overnight. But the way these anonymous accounts describe it, it paints T.I. less like a father and more like a dictator. Allegedly grabbing, allegedly shouting, allegedly putting hands where they never should have been. Words like abuse and control keep popping up. And when those words hit social media, forget it. That's like lighting a match in a fireworks factory. The reactions online are split right down the middle. On one side, you've got diehard ties saying this is cap. Boosie's bitter. He's making it up to stay relevant. They point out that Boosie has a history of trolling and stirring controversy when the spotlight shifts away from him. And let's be real, Boosie has never been shy about manufacturing drama. But on the other side, the skeptics, the critics, the people who already doubted T.I. after the Hyman Gate fiasco and the laundry list of other allegations, they're the ones saying, you know what? This sounds exactly like something T.I. would do. They're flooding Twitter, TikTok, and hip-hop forums with takes like, Boosie don't lie about stuff like this. He messy, but he not inventing no whole video. Others are posting memes, comparing T.I. to Suge Knight running his own household like Death Row Records. Savage? Yes, but also viral. Then you've got King Harris himself. The kid has been live streaming his way into headlines for months. He's shown up on IG Live with bruises before, chalking them up to fights in the street. But now, the conspiracy theory machine is grinding at full speed. People are zooming in on old photos, circling marks on his arms, replaying clips where he looks frustrated, and asking, was this really about fights in public, or was it something happening at home? Meanwhile, Boosie keeps adding fuel to the fire. In one supposed IG rant, he hinted, y'all think King act out for no reason? Y'all think he's screaming at folks 'cause he's spoiled? No, y'all don't know what go on behind them big gates. That one line was enough to send the internet into meltdown. Suddenly, King's public outbursts weren't just teenage rebellion. They were seen as cries for help, and that's where the scandal shifts from gossip to national conversation. Because if this tape is real, if this evidence exists, it's no longer just a hip-hop beef, it's a family crisis with the whole world watching, and once the internet frames it as a family crisis, the fallout becomes impossible to control. Already, there are whispers of legal teams being mobilized. Bloggers are reporting that T.I.'s lawyers are scrambling, firing off cease and desist letters faster than mixtapes used to drop. But here's the thing, the louder you deny, the more people assume you're hiding something. And right now, every denial from Camp T.I. sounds less like confidence and more like panic. Some so-called insiders claim the Atlanta DA's office has even taken interest. Is that true? Nobody knows for sure, but in today's viral culture, truth doesn't even matter. The idea that law enforcement might be circling is enough to send shockwaves. Comment sections are lit up with lines like, if CPS don't step in, the streets will. Others are calling for boycotts of T.I.'s businesses, podcasts, and appearances. Meanwhile, hip-hop culture is wrestling with the bigger question. What happens when one of its kings is accused not by outsiders, not by rivals, but by his own child, and exposed by another rap legend? The irony is almost poetic. T.I. built his brand on being a hustler, a family man, a protector of the culture. And yet now, that very image is collapsing under the weight of allegations that he failed at the most basic role, being a father. And let's not forget, King Harris. If this tape ever surfaces, King won't just be seen as a rebellious kid anymore. He'll be cast as the victim in one of the most shocking scandals rap has ever seen. Already you see fans online typing, "Protect King at all costs," as if he's no longer just a wild teenager, but the symbol of every child trapped under the spotlight of a powerful parent. Boosie, of course, is sitting back and letting the chaos unfold. Every time the story starts to cool down, he drops another breadcrumb, another soundbite, another cryptic IG Live where he smirks and says, "Y'all ain't ready for the truth." At this point, people aren't even sure if he's exposing T.I. or just trolling the entire culture. But one thing's for certain, Boosie has positioned himself as the self-appointed whistleblower of hip-hop, and the consequences. They could be massive. Imagine the lawsuits. Imagine sponsors backing away from TI. Imagine Netflix documentaries being pitched as we speak. Behind the gates, the Harris family secrets. This is the kind of scandal that doesn't just end careers, it rewrites legacies. Because whether the footage ever sees daylight or not, the damage is already done. The seed of doubt has been planted. And in the court of public opinion, once you're painted as the villain, the stain never really washes off. So now the world waits. Will the video leak? Will TI face investigations? Or will this all vanish as just another viral moment? Either way, the story is bigger than Boosie, bigger than TI, bigger than King. It's about the cracks in the empire of hip-hop royalty, and how quickly a crown can turn into a curse. So now the question is simple, but terrifying. If Boosie is telling the truth and that tape is real, then what happens next? Does TI step down from his throne, or does the industry cover it up like it always does? And most importantly, what does this mean for King Harris? A kid caught between fame, family, and a father who might have crossed the line? One thing's clear, hip-hop isn't just dealing with another beef. This is about blood, legacy, and the ugly secrets behind mansion gates. But what do you believe? Is Boosie exposing the truth, or is he just stirring chaos for clout? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is far from over. And if you want the raw, unfiltered breakdown of stories the mainstream won't touch, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this is just the beginning.